On the agenda is election of chair. Do I have any nominations, please, for chair of the subcommittee this morning?
I'd like to nominate Sally Howell, please.
Do I have any further nominations? In that case, I declare that Councillor Sally Howell be elected chair of the subcommittee for this morning's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Do members have any interest they wish to declare? I need to declare that I was previously a director of Diamond Hampers, but I ceased being a director 2 years ago. Welcome to the meeting. I'm Councillor Sally Howell, chair of this licensing subcommittee hearing. Before we start, I would like to remind you of a few housekeeping arrangements. In the event of a fire alarm sounding during the meeting, please stand and follow the meeting administrator to the fire evacuation point outside the building. This meeting is being filmed on the Council's YouTube channel for live and subsequent broadcast. The whole of the meeting will be filmed except where there are confidential or exempt items. If you make a representation to the meeting, you will be deemed to have consented to being filmed. By entering the meeting, you are also consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and or training purposes. Thank you. In the room with me here at Pathfinder House are the following: Councillors Butel and Criswell, members of the subcommittee, Luke Elford, the Council's legal advisor, and Democratic Services. I will now ask the officers from the licensing team to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Sarah Marden. I'm one of the licensing officers here. I'm acting as part of the licensing authority in this case. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Trudy Spinks. I'm one of the environmental health officers, lead food acting at the moment. So I'm representing the environmental health food element.
Sorry, we're just doing members of the licensing team at the moment. We'll move on to responsible authorities in a moment. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Bishop. I'm the licensing manager.
Thank you. Would those representing the applicant, the licensing team, please now introduce themselves. Please state your name and in what capacity you are here to represent the applicant.
Thank you, Chair. William Della Refice. I'm a licensing officer acting as a responsible authority for Huntingdonshire District Council, and I'm the applicant.
Would those representing the premises licence holder please now introduce themselves. Please state your name and in what capacity you are here to represent the licence holder.
Thank you. It says no, so I didn't think I should press that button, but there you go. So, Mum, I'm representing the former premises licence holder. The premises licence holder hasn't been notified of the hearing because as of the 5th of November, the premises licence holder is Mr. Ulas, who is here in a personal capacity watching today, but he is not represented, hasn't been notified of the hearing. So by way of a preliminary matter, insofar as I can assist under Regulation 21, given that there is a lacuna in the law, which is I was the premises licence holder at the time the application was made. As of today, I'm not the premises licence holder, so I have no effectively rights of audience, and you have no one to respond to this application because you've not notified anyone. You can either do this by yourself, which would be rather odd and could of course get you in hot water, or perhaps you could give me some permission to participate and attend in order to give you some useful background information, though I'd be submitting that your options are, in the circumstances, really quite limited.
I think under the circumstances, and given that your client was a party, albeit isn't anymore, and is the mainstay of the paperwork before us, I think there will certainly be some things that we want to hear from Mr. Kunis. Obviously, Mr. Ulas is here, and it is open to the councillors to ask questions of any person who is present. And he was clearly aware of the hearing as well. So, but yes, we're happy for you to speak, Mr. Sharon-Bedes.
So I'm representing Mr. Kunis, who's the former premises licence holder who sits next to me. Thank you.
I will now ask those representing responsible authorities to please introduce themselves. Please state your name and who you are representing. Please also indicate if you intend to address the subcommittee hearing this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. My name's PC Claire Metcalfe. I'm the Police Licensing Officer for Cambridgeshire Police for this area, and I will be speaking today.
Good morning, Chair. PC Paul Hawkins, Cambridgeshire Police, Alcohol Licensing. I cover the north of the county. I'm here supporting PC Metcalfe. I don't intend on speaking today.
Good morning, Chair. I'm PC 47 James Ferris from the Huntingdon Policing team. I cover Huntingdonshire and I'm here supporting PC Metcalfe.
And good morning, Trudy Spinks, Environmental Health and Lead Food Officer representing the food hygiene element. Thank you.
I see there's an interested party in attendance. Can you please state your name and who you are representing? Please also indicate if you intend to address the subcommittee this morning.
Hi, my name is Margaret Clark. I'm an interested party. I'm just a member of the public. So I'm not intending on speaking. Can I leave that open? If I don't know, am I allowed, if something were to come up that I felt were important?
We can say you intend to speak, but then you can say you decide not to. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. Is there anyone else I haven't covered? I don't think so. Okay, moving on to item 4. You would have received within the hearing papers that were circulated to you a copy of the licensing subcommittee procedure. The hearing will commence under this procedure. Any representations that have been made should be relevant to the 4 licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. As you'll see, in the interest of fairness, the procedure provides for an equal amount of time for the applicant, premises licence holder, responsible authorities and interested parties to address the subcommittee. This is usually 20 minutes, which in the case of responsible authorities and interested parties is shared between those in attendance. However, I can use my discretion should this be required. The police representation contains some confidential information which is provided to members of the committee, the police and the premises licence holder only. If members wish to discuss this information, the hearing will need to enter into confidential session. This relates to the list of incidents reported to the police, pages 37 to 39, inclusive, the statement from Superintendent Treadwell on pages 40 to 41, and the schedule of deficiencies from Cambridgeshire Fire and Rescue on pages 44 to 52 of the agenda papers is also restricted for the same purpose. Do any parties present have any questions of clarification at this stage? This should relate to the procedure only. Okay, I will now invite the licensing officer to present the application.
Thank you very much, Chair. We're here today to determine the application to review the premises licence for Huntingdon Pool and Snooker Club at St Benedict's Court, Huntingdon. The licensing authority has received the application to review the premises licence from our Huntingdon District Council licensing officer, William Dorafici, in his capacity as a responsible authority under the Licensing Act 2003. The premises licence number for this licence is HDC/PRE 00783. The application was received on the 17th of September 2024. And as required under the Licensing Act 2003, notice of the application was advertised on the Council's website and blue notices were displayed at or near the premises from the 18th of September 2024. And the 28-day consultation period ended on the 15th of October 2024. A full copy of the application for review, along with supporting documentation, is attached in the bundle at Appendix A, and the current premises licence is attached as Appendix B. For background, the premises situated at St Benedict's Court has for many years operated as a snooker club. It was originally known as 147 Snooker Club, and the premises licence, the original premises licence, which was 358, lapsed due to the death of the premises licence holder in October 2014. The premises was then closed for some time, and a new premises was applied for and granted, and this licence was numbered 672 in April 2015. In this case, the licence holder was a limited company, and the premises was closed and ceased to operate in 2017. The company was also dissolved in January of 2020 and the premises licence lapsed. And moving on to the current licence, in October 2019, a new licence was applied for and granted. This is the current licence 783 to Mr. Savas Kunis, and the premises licence. He became the premises licence holder and the DPS. Although sadly, Mr. Savas Kunis passed away in June of 2020. At that time, however, the licence was then transferred to his son, Mr. Pavlos Kunis, also known as Paul, who remains the current licence holder, or at least when this was written. Since June 2020, there have been a number of different persons named as the designated premises supervisor, and the current DPS is Mr. Stephen Ellis, and he's been in place since June 2023. During the period for representations, we received 7 responses from responsible authorities, and those are in your bundles as Appendix C. In addition, we received further 4 representations in support of the application from other persons, and those are in your bundles are Appendix D. Not all matters raised within the representations may be relevant matters for consideration under the Licensing Act 2003. A person who has submitted a relevant representation is entitled to address the licensing subcommittee at the hearing and ask questions of any other party appearing at the hearing. The licensing authority must carry out its function under the Licensing Act with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. Each objective has equal importance, and the objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The subcommittee must also have regard to its statement of licensing policy, any statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, Human Rights Act 1988, and the council must also fulfil its obligations under Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998, and to do all it reasonably can to prevent crime and disorder in the district. In making its decision, this application must be determined on its individual merits, having regard to the representations and supporting documents included as part of the report, along with additional information considered relevant at the hearing. As part of the decision process, the licensing subcommittee is required to give its reasons for any decision it arrives at. I'll ask the licensing subcommittee now to to hear all the information provided at this hearing and make a determination.
Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions for the licensing officer?
Thank you, Miss Marden, for that comprehensive report. Would you mind just taking us through, please, where we are currently with the transfer application that was made to transfer the license from Mr. Kunis to Mr. Ulas, and also where we are in respect of who the designated premises supervisor is and whether they are still the designated premises supervisor? Thank you.
Indeed. So we did receive an email from Mr. Kunis's representative on the 5th of November. This email advised us that there would be a transfer application imminent, and we received that transfer application on Friday, the 8th of November. As far as that is a valid application, and there is obviously a 14-day consultation period for that application. So we're still within that 14-day period at this time. Yes, it was. In regards to the DPS, we were notified in the same email that Mr. Ellis would be resigning his post as designated premises supervisor. But to date, we have not had official confirmation from that directly from Mr. Ellis. So that at this point, Mr. Ellis is still the current DPS.
Does the applicant, the licensing officer, have any questions? Does the premises license holder or his representative have any questions?
Oh, I don't have a question per se, but would it be helpful if Mr. Ellis confirmed for the record his resignation, because he's here today and I can call him to do that? Shall I call him to the table? I'm assuming it's okay to call him and ask him to appear.
I am confirming my resignation.
Mum, I'll send a note and make sure that the official procedures are followed.
Okay. Do any of the other responsible authorities have any questions? No. And does the interested party have any questions? No, brilliant. I will now ask the applicant for the review, HDC licensing, to address the subcommittee for not more than 20 minutes and to call any witnesses if relevant.
Thank you, Chair. So in summary, there isn't really much more that I intend to add that isn't included in the application for review. I would like to just go through a few of the points that have been raised in there. Namely, if I could bring your attention to condition number 3. And that states that the person nominated as the DPS will join HBAC / Huntingdon Pub Watch scheme and support its aims and objectives. This includes support of its agreed banning policy and attending meetings, personally or by sending an authorised representative of the venue. The condition is only binding whilst the HBAC Huntingdon Pub Watch scheme is in existence. As you'll see in the report, it states the DPS has never attended a Pub Watch scheme meeting and has nominated someone on his behalf to attend. I'm not sure how, I think possibly during formatting, that should have expanded on to say that the nominated person on the day of the report had indicated that they quit the business and walked out of the meeting. So if that's acceptable to be included within this, if everyone's in agreement, obviously the way it is written indicates that the DPS hasn't actually adhered to that condition. So I just wanted to clarify upon that as a starting point. I'd also like to bring your attention to conditions 1 and 2, which discuss the CCTV, those being of particular concern given the number of police incidents reported to us, that my colleagues from the responsible authorities will obviously be able to go into more detail. Those are conditions that really do stand out as needing to be adhered to, certainly in the event of incidents happening. I'd also like to bring up points 4, 5, 6, and 7. Condition 4 is the premises shall devise and implement a dispersal policy to ensure patrons do not congregate outside the premises and they disperse from the premises in an orderly and quiet manner so as not to disturb residents within the vicinity. During both inspections, there was no written dispersal policy provided and there was no discussion around what staff actually did to do to comply with that condition and to promote the licensing objectives. A written risk assessment is required under condition 5 to be done, detailing the requirement for SIA door staff, which requires a minimum of 2 staff on duty Friday and Saturday from the hours of 2200 until 30 minutes after closing time or until all customers have dispersed from the immediate vicinity of St. Benedict's Court. The risk assessment will be made available to police or licensing authorities upon request. During both inspections, again, no written risk assessments were provided on inspections. And also condition 6, which is a search policy, shall be implemented as appropriate as part of the risk assessment process and with signage being displayed at the point of entry. All of these conditions really do tie together. They are what the premises needs to do to make sure that the licensing objectives are being promoted, that crime and disorder is minimized, and the written risk assessment ties into the search policy, ties into the dispersal policy. At the time of my inspection, condition 7 wasn't adhered to as staff were unable to locate one of the body-worn cameras and the body-worn camera on site didn't work at the time. And There is also condition 9, which states all staff shall be trained to challenge every individual who appears to be under 25 years of age and to refuse service where individuals cannot produce acceptable means of identification. Again, such training records shall be provided not less than every 6 months, and written records shall be kept of all training and refresher training. No staff training records were provided. On the 12th of September inspection, the shift manager verbally stated that no training was provided and all of the online records were empty. Conditions 11 and 12 are a written drugs policy will be implemented and made available to view by an authorized officer on request. During both inspections, no written drugs policies were provided. And then we come on to condition 12, which is between the hours of 9 o'clock and close, at least one person who holds a personal license will be on duty on a Friday and Saturday and any day prior to a public holiday. There was no evidence of a personal license holder being present on site as required. The shift manager on Saturdays has confirmed that he does not hold a personal license, and no one else on site on Saturdays has one either. Now, going back through sort of the history as my role as a responsible authority officer, I've been with this authority since August 2003. Since then, we've had lots of circumstantial evidence presented to us through police incidents. The cumulative impact of that has led to the inspection, which we conducted on the 9th of September alongside my colleague from police licensing. Notification was sent to the license holder and the designated premise supervisor, of which we received no response or indication that they would be present during that. The reason why we emailed the license holder directly instead of any representative is during the notification of suspension for a lack of annual fee payment in July 2024, we received no confirmation from the premises license holder, the designated premise supervisor, or their previously appointed representative. I haven't had any contact from the premise license holder up until today, and I've had minimal contact from the DPS, who did confirm on the inspection of the 12th that at the last minute he was unable to attend due to vehicle failure. And on this phone call, he did state verbally that he did not know where any written documents were, as this was all dealt with by a manager who he was unable to make contact with. And that is believed to be the manager who walked out of the pub watch meeting. My history obviously only starts from August 2023. However, I am privy to the fact that the current DPS, Mr. Ellis, was added to the license after concerns were raised to the premises license holder in June 2023 that the DPS at the time didn't actually have any effective control over the premise. And that's something, again, my colleagues who have made representations today can expand upon. So in all honesty, it's now a matter for the committee to decide the relevance of these conditions and the lack of compliance. I'm open to any questions you need or any clarification from me, and I'll cede the floor now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions for the applicant? Do any officers present have any questions for the applicant, licensing or legal? No. Does the premises license holder or his representative have any questions? No. Okay. And do the interested parties have any questions? No. Brilliant. Thank you. I will now invite the responsible authorities to address the subcommittee for no more than 20 minutes in total. Members of the subcommittee and the license holder will have received the additional information relating to a crime listed in Appendix 4 to the agenda pack. This has been circulated electronically and paper copies are provided to members of the subcommittee today. I'd like to take the opportunity to remind you again that the police and fire representation contains some confidential information which has been provided to members of the committee and the premises license holder only. If members wish to discuss this information, the hearing will need to enter into confidential session. This relates to the list of incidents reported to the police, again, pages 37 to 39, the statement from Superintendent Treadwell on pages 40 to 41, and the schedule of deficiencies from Cambridgeshire Fire and Rescue on pages 44 to 52 of the agenda papers. So, if you would like to address them.
Thank you, Chair. Despite the transfer of the premises licence, I think it's important to focus on why we're here today, to go through some of the historical issues and concerns. So there are ongoing concerns. Neither Mr. Kunis nor Mr. Ellis, who's the DPS, had a knowledge of the day-to-day running of the premises, which has failed really to promote the licensing objectives. Their failure to ensure compliance with the premises licence conditions and operating procedures has led to crime and disorder in and around the premises, particularly alcohol-related violence, both inside and outside of the premises. Previous interventions to work with the premises licence holder to reduce crime associated with the premises has been unsuccessful, with bad practices soon returning. Problems with the premises date back many years, soon after Mr. Kunis took over in June 2020. Incidents and intelligence relates to drug use and dealing on the premises, staff permitting drug use and dealing on the premises, unlicensed doorman working at the premises, underage sales, staff not requesting ID, and also concerns about young females frequenting the club into the early hours of the morning. An example of non-compliance with rules is an example which just dates back to 2021, when we had a number of reports that COVID restrictions were not being adhered to at the premises, which resulted in July 2021, the duty manager was then given a £1,000 fine for contravening requirement to observe conditions on ordering, serving and seating when selling food and drink for consumption on the premises, which at the time I believe was table service only. And having seen the CCTV from inside the premises on that evening in question, it looked like any normal day at a pub or a club. There was absolutely no social distancing being adhered to, and it was an absolute complete disregard for the COVID restrictions that were in force at the time. February 2022, as part of a stepped approach with Mr. Kunis, he agreed to voluntarily change the premises licence to include additional conditions, which are actually on the current premises licence. Since Mr. Kunis became the premises licence holder, there's been three changes of DPS over that time. We've got September 2022, January 2023, and June 2023. The last DPS was appointed following a meeting between myself, Michelle Bishop and Mr. Kunis, where we raised concerns regarding violent incidents and the suitability of the then DPS. In Appendix 4, I believe, in the review pack, I've provided an overview of the incidents and crime associated with the premises, which only goes back for the last 2 years. Examples of such, we've got a phrase, GBHs or grievous bodily harms, ABHs, actual bodily harms, common assaults, offences against public order, such as violent disorder, a phrase, Section 4A, fear of violence, provocation of violence, drugs offences, both supply and possession, criminal damage, sexual assault and thefts. In addition to that, you'll also have a copy of the intelligence items associated with the premises that's been authorised for dissemination by Detective Superintendent Chris Treadwell, which I believe is in Appendix 3. The latest inspection took place with myself and William on the 9th of September, where we conducted a joint visit. Unfortunately, as already been stated, Mr. Ellis or Mr. Kunis were present, even though they'd been notified of the time and date of the licensing inspection the previous week. Mr. Jenkins was I believe it was Mr. Jenkins, was the only staff member present at the time of our visit, which unfortunately meant that the inspection was rather fragmented, as he was unable to assist with most of our inquiries. He wasn't able to locate any required or requested documentation, nor was he able to access any of the CCTV. And concerningly enough, that despite he'd been a member of the bar staff since I believe January of this year, he didn't actually know what a refusals log was. I conducted some cocaine drug swipes testings within the premises, and I identified a strong presence of cocaine traces within the male toilet cubicle. There were also traces within the female toilet cubicle. And there were also trace amounts of cocaine on a table located to the right-hand side of the bar area between the doors to both male and female toilets. I'm also not aware of any seized or found drugs or weapons being reported to police for disposal by the duty manager since September 2020. for me, this is very concerning because I would expect that if the door staff were conducting their due diligence and carrying out their roles correctly, that there would be something found on a person or in a bag at the point of entry, as per their condition, I believe it's condition 11 in relation to their search policy. Any other issues that we found at the premises were recorded and passed on to the correct responsible bodies. I've listed the numerous breaches that were found on the visit in my review. Unfortunately, despite several interventions over the years to encourage or force improvements to the running of the premises, it's clear that any progress made is extremely short-lived, with careless practices creeping back in, leading not only to breaches of the premises licence being an acceptable occurrence to the management, but is a blatant disregard for the licensing objectives, which negatively impact on the crime disorder and public safety on a regular basis. This premises requires a robust, hands-on, experienced day-to-day manager, and also a DPS and a premises licence holder who take their responsibilities seriously, which simply hasn't been the case over many years. With a set of already robust, comprehensive conditions, it is difficult to suggest any more that could assist future operations, as if all of the conditions were being adhered to currently, we would have seen a marked reduction in the number of reported incidents and crimes. 5th of November, Mr. Kunis decided to no longer operate the premises and close the business under his management and operation with immediate effect. And as we've just heard from Mr. Ellis, he's also confirmed his resignation as DPS. The premises licence is now being transferred to Mr. Ulaz. It's been stated that Mr. Ulaz will intends to extensively refurbish the premises, which will take a minimum of 6 weeks or so, and it's not likely to reopen probably until next year. However, I understand the outcome of this hearing will determine whether the state of the lease of the premises goes ahead. Currently, there's absolutely no guarantees that Mr. Ulaz will buy the lease and that any investment will take place. In my opinion, for the majority of the time, the name Huntingdon Pool and Snooker Club, it is appropriate for the activities that take place at the venue. However, on a Friday and Saturday evening, the premises has previously been run as a nightclub. There's a DJ, dance floor, and obviously drinking as well. And that's the main draw of people to that premises who are non-pool or snooker players. And that's probably the majority of people attending on those nights. Another outstanding concern that I have is who Mr. Ulaz intends to appoint as a DPS. As we know that a large part of previous issues at the premises have resulted from not having an appropriate DPS in post, who does not have a day-to-day knowledge of the running of the premises and simply just didn't have a grasp of what was going on at the premises. I believe that the premises, it does need a strong and experienced DPS who is there on a frequent basis and has excellent knowledge of the business, procedures, staff, and also the training requirements. I'd like to know, it's difficult because Mr. Ulaz isn't represented here today, but I'd like to know what Mr. Ulaz intends to do in order to change the reputation of the premises and to uphold the licensing objectives, and what types of policies and procedures does he intend to adopt at the premises, and also whether or not he has any other premises that he's a premises license holder or a DPS at, because that would be very useful to know how experienced he is. In conclusion, really, the way things stand at the moment, I believe that it's necessary to revoke the premises licence in order to uphold the public safety, prevention of crime and disorder, and to prevent public nuisance. Thank you.
Any other of the responsible authorities want to say anything? And then we'll do questions.
Hi, Chair. Thank you. I just wanted to detail that as environmental health, we have a duty to carry out routine food hygiene inspections. the difficulties that I had carrying out the inspection was that when I visited for the routine inspection on the 4th of June, there was nobody available to say that they were responsible for the business. I was informed that Mr. Steve Ellis was the food business operator. At the time of my inspection, the staff present didn't know anything about having food safety documentation in place. They didn't appear to have any training with regard to food stuffs that may come in, which would include drinks or snacks or anything like that that was sold. We do look around the premises as well, and I found that there was no suitable hot water supply to the bar area, which would be used for effective cleaning and washing surfaces, and also to the toilets as well, the male and the female toilets. There was some significant dirt, and it was quite run down really in some areas. There were some health and safety issues as well that were found, particularly one which was an electrical safety hazard to a pull cord. That was rectified within a matter of days after I'd got in contact with Mr. Steve Ellis. So I was really pleased that that had been resolved, because there was obviously a risk to health there. The correspondence following the visit did ask Mr. Ellis to register as a food business operator. See, he's no longer responsible for this role, but revisits were carried out, lots of emails were sent. We did have a couple of responses back. I repeatedly asked him to register as the food business operator and to update me as to when certain repairs would be carried out within the premises, and hot water supply, which normally we would put a restriction on and think about serving a hygiene improvement notice if the hot water supply isn't reinstated. Trying to find out who the actual food business operator was and asking them to register was really a stopping point for us, because I was told it was Mr. Steve Ellis, but repeatedly asking him to register, we didn't get any registration through. Finally, a notice was served, requisition for information notice served under Section 16 of the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act on the 17th of September, and that was served by hand by myself and our departmental manager, Kate Penn. So we visited, again at the time, had a look around. There had been no works carried out, and also no hot water, no documentation again. We didn't receive a response from the notice. To date, we still have not received a response from the notice. I don't have any other points to raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions?
Yes, I have one. Should this license be granted, are the previous named people, Mr. Ellis, etc., going to be employed at the club?
No.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? No. Okay. Do any officers present have any questions? Licensing officers or legal? No. Does the applicant, HDC Licensing, have any questions? No. Does the premises license holder or his representative have any questions?
Ma'am, no, thank you.
Does the interested party have any questions? No, brilliant. And would you like to address the meeting? No, perfect, thank you. Okay. I will now ask the premises license holder or his representative to address the subcommittee for not more than 20 minutes and to call any witnesses if relevant.
Ma'am, thank you very much. I'm not the premises license holder. I'm taking advantage of your generosity and your discussion to just really give you some of the background. It's a rather rare case and a convenient case in that Mr. Kunis, the former premises license holder, doesn't disagree with your licensing officer. Your licensing officer says at page 32 of the bundle that they want a particular request. They're asking for a significant change in the management style and attitude towards running this licensed premises. Mr. Kunis agrees. in some respects, what we're seeing today, and I'm sure Mr. Kunis will forgive me for being a little bit personal, is that this is really the end of a grieving process. As you well know, this premises was inherited from his father. Both Mr. Kunis Senior and Mr. Kunis today are involved in licensed premises. Paul, who sits next to me, runs his own premises. He runs his own really successful premises. He runs a number of bars and hotels, and his bars operate as leisure centres, leisure bars, where you've got things like axe throwing and ping pong ball and snooker and so on. And that's just on the verge of being being franchised. So somewhere, not here, he is a successful operator. And in effect, what he's done is he's held on to this premises, but has been quite overstretched. It's far from where he lives. It's far from his other premises, and it was held on to for sentimental value. Not only is he overstretched professionally, but also personally. He has 5 kids. I think the youngest is, I've got my notes, 4, and the oldest is 16. So all the difficult ages all at once. And in effect, he agrees with your licensing authority that there needs to be management in place, ownership in place, which can meet the requirements of this venue. So there was consideration to, as you do on a normal review, ask for the police evidence, because at the moment you have a lot of statements, but these haven't been checked. And with due respect to the responsible authorities, impressions and suspicions and so on, once you get the full Chris and CAD reports and you're able to analyse them, makes clear that what we think and what we feel might not necessarily be the true picture, but we're not doing that. We've heard in live evidence today that this venue is suited to being a pool and snooker club, and that there is a good premises licence. In fact, there's no complaints about the premises licence because the conditions are clear, they are comprehensive, and they are well worded. So in effect, there is a template there for any operator. They just need to turn up and operate it in the correct way. And so what Mr. Kunis realised when this review came in is that the best legacy for his father would effectively be to sell this premises. Now, as you know, under paragraph 11.20 of the section 182 guidance, we need to find the cause of causes of concerns and remedy that. The cause and causes of concern is not the operation. It's not the premises license. I'm a little bit surprised to hear a request for revocation because it's not in any of the paperwork. Paragraph 11.15 says to responsible authorities, let people know in advance what you're asking for so that we can provide an answer. That kind of ambush really is, just wholly inappropriate, and I'll just leave that there. So we have a good license. We have a problem. The problem are the people, and the people are now effectively leaving. So what you have is the removal of DPS, one of your main powers, and you also have an extensive closure. I'd be very surprised if it's up and running within 6 weeks. It's more likely to take a number of months, probably more than the period of suspension. So what you have is a cooling down period, your premises is closing down, and someone who's willing to invest in your local authority area. On this Thursday, the pool tables and snooker tables are being collected. Mr. Ulas and his business partners are bringing in their own tables and equipment. They are also bringing in darts. They are bringing in, I've got a note here, I've got the right page. They're bringing in shuffleboards and table tennis. The intention is to fill the place with equipment so that it becomes a genuine snooker and pool bar with late night sports and leisure uses, so that the club use, which is not their interest, is not going to be operated. Mr. Ulas and his business partner operate 3 other venues that they've operated for over 5 years. I'm led to believe. So they do have extensive experience. Their other premises are all in London, one relatively central and the others suburban. So they cater to pool and snooker premises. So in effect, what has happened is that Mr. Kunis has agreed. He's taken the most draconian steps in that he's, if I can be dramatic, so the lights are falling. He's been run out of town. Look at that. And the lights come on. Sort of couldn't have been planned better in Hollywood. So effectively, Mr. Kunis agrees. He's here to acknowledge his responsibility. He's not been able to meet with your responsible authorities. They've certainly been doing their part to try and remedy this. And so what we represent here is really a last attempt. You've got a good premises. It can be used for snooker and leisure. That's what its planning allows. That's what its license allows. You just need good people. What you can take comfort from is that you have got engaged responsible authorities. You've got engaged civil society. So the transfer has effectively taken effect. So unless the police can meet exceptional circumstances, you would be punishing someone who you've not given a notice to, so they're not participants at the hearing. So effectively, if you're thinking of taking any steps, you'd need to adjourn and invite them. Mr. Elford can't rely on Regulation 17 because the current premises license holder is not a party and they are not appearing. Appearing has a technical meaning, which is, as he knows, influenced by Regulation 8(2). So they have no party status, no appearance. So you can't just randomly ask questions from people in the public gallery. That's way outside the hearings regulations, and there's no lawful authority for that. So what I would suggest effectively is that you've been given the maximum of your powers. The premises license holder and his DPS have been run out of town. You have a good license. There is effectively a suspension for 6 months and the DPS 3 months, and the DPS has been removed. So there's a satisfactory outcome. In the interest of the licensing objectives, your licensing officer is getting what he's asked for, which is new people. When you ask for new people, it means you've got to give them a chance, and that chance will happen once Mr. Ulas and his team have gone in, refurbished and started operating. So, Mum, I've nothing further to add. Of course, I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions? No? I have a question, if that's okay. Can you confirm about any previous relationship between Mr. Kunis and Mr. Ulas? Do they know each other?
They don't work with each other. I think your father sold them a premises some years ago. Is that right?
3 years ago.
And so they're Woolwich premises. It was sold to them. They operate their business independently. And when Mr. Kunis was looking for a response, he thought, well, actually, these people know how to operate snooker bars and clubs. Let me see if they want to buy it. And they said yes.
Okay. Do any officers present have any questions, licensing or legal? No. Does the applicant have any questions?
Yes, please, Chair. So just to the previous premise licenses holders representative, I think I've got that right. You mentioned extensively about the transfer process and the equipment that's being brought in, dartboards, pool tables, which is wonderful to hear. But what we haven't heard, and obviously I appreciate they're not privy to this, so they can't be asked the questions, is about staff training records, is about the search policies, all the fundamental conditions that weren't being adhered to. You've also mentioned that the club aren't going to operate as a nightclub anymore. Then the question could be asked of why are the hours necessary anymore? We haven't heard what premises they actually do run in London. And my concern as a licensing officer, as the responsible authority officer, is that we have a license holder who is not based in the area, who you have stated has overstretched himself and been unable to run this effectively, transferring to someone who has got previous clubs and runs other clubs in London, not in our area. And it sounds like we're going to fall into the same trap of someone overstretching themselves. I have no engagement with the new license holders. I've had no contact whatsoever. And it's really, how can that be mitigated and how is that going to be addressed? And furthermore, I would just like to also clarify for the record, the comments referred to on page 34 were the police licensing officer's comments, not my own as the responsible authority for Huntingdonshire District Council. Thank you.
There's a lot to unpick there, Ma'am, but I think the answer is that you're not here to punish people, and you're not here to chase away investment, and you're not here to chase away good people with an unblemished record who are interested in investing in your area. You are effectively regulating and administering a regulatory scheme. You've got a situation where a premises has been poorly operated. Your responsible authorities are saying, we don't trust these people. We want them out. You're getting that. Your responsible authorities have told you there's a good premises license and there's a good plan in place. And I think it was the officer herself that said, if they'd adhere to the license conditions, then the premises will be well run. So this curious point about hours and so on, I don't really understand the question, because you've got a good premises license, including the hours conditions. And if the conditions are met, whether they operate until 8 p.m. or 6 a.m., as long as they operate well, they will promote the licensing objectives. So it's very unfair to have a trial within a trial of an applicant who's come to you effectively, I think, in good faith. They've made an application, and there's a process for the police only if there are exceptional circumstances. So the questions by your licensing officer are quite inappropriate and, dare I say, unlawful, because he's not entitled to ask those questions. If the transfer has immediate effect, whether he has questions or fears or any issues really isn't for him. It's the proof is in the pudding, which is in the operation. The only people on exceptional circumstances that can object are the police. And the reason Mr. Ules has turned up today without legal representation is at the conclusion of this hearing, whatever you decide to do, he will introduce himself to the police, they will exchange their contact details, and they will have a conversation, which is, of course, part of the regulatory light touch system that you administer. It's about people chatting at the appropriate time. You don't go on a first date until you go on a first date. So, perhaps in this Tinder age where you expect all sorts of conversation and pictures and so on, maybe we've forgotten that. But this is our first date. And so Mr. Ules can deal with that at the appropriate time, which is outside this hearing. Thank you.
Do the responsible authorities have any questions?
My questions would have been in relation to Mr. Ules and what his experience is as being a DPS or premises licence holder in other areas, premises that he has, the type of premises. I just want to know what his experience is, just to make sure we're not jumping out of the pan into the fire.
Mr. Ules is here. If he wants to answer any of these questions, he can.
More concerns.
Mr. Shalambidis, you don't represent Mr. Ules.
Mr. Ules has instructed Milton Shaw, who is the consultant that is representing Mr. Kunis. He's undertaken the transfer. So I'm not formally instructed, but I am part of a hearing which has legal rules. It really is a matter for you, Mum, whether you're going to suddenly open up an inquisition into Mr. Ulas, because my concern is that there's going to be an inquisition by your hearing into someone's credentials, which you're not empowered to do. There is a statutory process whereby the police, if they have concerns, can ask Mr. Ulas questions. It's not at an ad hoc, unlawful hearing to ask him questions. What I suggest as a compromise is that perhaps we take 10 or 15 minutes and Mr. Ulas and the police can go on their first date and they can get all the information that they want to, but that it would be wholly inappropriate for them to bring that information to you at this hearing, because if they don't think he's suitable, they can serve a certificate for exceptional circumstances and they can make those objections then. And it means that whatever happens today isn't potentially undermining the police interests, or indeed Mr. Ulas's interests, which I suspect I'll be instructed to represent at that date if that were to arise. So that might be the safest course of action for everyone.
Yeah, Mr. Shanley, I hear what you say, don't necessarily accept it. Effectively, the committee are being asked to take on trust that Mr. Ulas is brilliant and will be able to operate this premises brilliantly. But we've not heard from Mr. Ulas. You've not called him as a witness. It would seem to me to benefit your client, and of course it's your case to run as you want to run, for the committee to be able to hear from Mr. Ulas, because the committee have to decide today what action to take in respect of this premises licence, not specifically Mr. Kunis, who accepts everything that's said about how badly he ran the premises, or Mr. Ellis. But they have to make a decision about the premises licence. It would be of a benefit to the committee in terms of their thinking to be able to have some comfort about how the premises is going to be run.
So, Mum, may we take a short adjournment, just a couple of minutes, so that I can explain, though I think Mr. Elford has been very clear and the discussion has been very clear. If I could just explain to Mr. Ulas what is happening and that he can ask me any questions, including whether or not he wants to think about independent legal advice. And then we can come back and answer that request to effectively call him as a witness. Though indeed any of the responsible authorities may ask as well. So I'll explain that to him. Yep, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We can adjourn meeting. Thank you, and welcome back. Like to.
Mum, thank you very much. That's been very helpful. We're able to facilitate the discussion. As I said, it is quite an odd set of circumstances because the legislation allows for this, but actually hasn't really told us where to run these hearings. So it's been very helpful to have everyone. So directly to my left is Mr. Ulas. He is the current premises license holder. He's very happy to speak to you and answer your questions. And to his left is Mr. Tassim, who's one of his business partners. He's the premises license holder and operator of the Woolwich branch of their operation. So I think Mr. Ulas is very happy to explain to you his experience, his plans, and the level of investment and so on that they're proposing to undertake. So I'll hand over to them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ercan Ulaş. When I take over Haringey, my place is Haringey. We are partners with Woolwich and Haringey snooker clubs. When I take over Haringey, they lost their license as well, and I reapplied the license, and I promise to council that time that I will improve and I will represent like more families, and like we help schools as well, like with table tennis, they come and they play. And we're planning to make something similar here as well. And we done this in Haringey, Woolwich as well. And we're planning to change full concept to like more families. Like we don't need nightclubs. We're not gonna make nightclubs. But we like to keep our hours because like some people, they like to play snooker like till late. Yes, because they finish job late and they come and they wanna play till late. We like to keep our hours. We're gonna invest like actually quite good amount of money in the business. We're gonna change all the toilets. We're gonna change where's the bar. We're gonna change the entrance, and we're gonna change all the tables. They had a complaint with the hot water. We're gonna build new toilets and new water system, new electric system. Everything is gonna be changed. And we done this in Woolwich as well. We spent like nearly $500,000 there, and everything like we done it like brand new. And we done membership as well. So because there was like some problem with the customers, there was like trouble customers as well. And I saw here as well a few times myself because I come to see the place. There's some like let's say naughty customers. And that's why we're gonna do membership as well. So we're not gonna take these customers. We try to like clear these customers away from the good customers. So, and my partner, he wants to say.
My name is Taj Mills, and like Ulash said that we are partners. What I wanted to tell you guys that in Woolwich, when Pavlos was selling Woolwich to me, the business was sinking down, and we spent $500,000 in that business. We fully refurbished it from walls to ceiling to carpet to tables, the bar to toilets, everything in there. The business is doing over maybe 5 times what Pavlos was doing, and you can check it on Google, Woolwich Snooker Club, and see our reviews from customers. They had a concern with the police as well. The police came and shook my hand and said that I'm doing a really good job in there. We never had problems with staff training, keeping record of alcohol sales. They even sent a young kid to buy alcohol. They couldn't find anything that we were doing wrong in there. Woolwich is doing perfectly well. Haringey is doing perfectly well. Now, we wanted to grow our partnership and build more sites. Pavlos told me about Huntington, that he's selling it. He's looking to, get rid of it because he's had enough of his staff. I said, how much you selling it for? He gave me a price. I said, fine, I'll buy it. Now, we're not talking about a small investment here. We're talking about, I had the construction guys gave me a price of 250K for Huntington refurbish. This is not buying the tables or any other stuff. Just the refurbished carpet, ceilings, electric work, and walls, new toilets, new bars. the way me and Ulash works, we also have another partner. We have Bahatindar. When we open up a new site, one of us take in charge of that site. So I'm in charge of Woolwich. Our other partner, Bahatindar, is in charge of Haringey. Arjun is going to be in charge of Huntington. This is answering the gentleman's question. He said, you know, Pablos was living far away. How are you guys going to take care when Pablos didn't do it? You guys are living in London. Arjun is going to be in charge of Huntington. That's why he's getting the license on his name. So he will always be on site, and we're not leaving a $500,000 investment into staff's hands. We're going to be over there, always on the business, taking care of it. Like I said, guys, I mean, I assure you guys that we do a great job, and not to show ourselves high in your eyes, but I know personally that I know what I'm doing. Say with Arjun, say with my other partner, Batil. I'm sure Huntington is going to be really good. I mean, 3 months, 4 months, maybe up to 6 months, the contract is going to be there. We need to go to Turkey, buy new tables, new carpets, whatsoever, bring our lorry down, finish off the construction, new sign, new name, new start. And I'm sure it's going to be good for your local people. I mean, in our snooker clubs, we don't let any of the drug sales. When we see it with our own eyes, we stop them, we kick them out, we don't let them in there. Our staff, they're fully trained. They do not let any kind of stuff happen like that. If a site is causing trouble and there's like, you know, fights and stuff like that, we're not scared to put bouncers in there, like security. I mean, like I said, guys, we're spending money in there and I'm not risking my business. It's totally up to you guys, but I say, give us a chance. Let us deal with it. After 4 months, 6 months, come and see it with your own eyes. If you have any questions, we can answer your questions. Sorry.
Okay. Archer's question.
How many staff do you employ in each of those premises you spoke about?
All right. I'm not used to these things. In Woolwich, I have 9 staff at the moment. 9. I have 2 ladies in the evenings, 2 men in the evenings. Morning shifts, I have 2 ladies, 1 man. Haringey, how many we have in Haringey?
We have 1 female and 1 male daytime. Sorry, 1 female, 1 male daytime, and in the evening we have 3 male and 3 female. Because sometimes they have off as well, we swap them sometimes.
We do 2 shifts, but
weekends, like we have them like full stuff inside.
What's your maximum capacity in those 2 premises?
We get about 400 people in, but we never get like full amount of people, 400s.
Usually Friday and Saturday are the busiest days. And in Haringey, we've got 21 tables, including English pool, American and snooker, table tennis. 21 tables, they're usually full Friday, Saturday nights. Weekdays, a bit quieter. Woolwich, we have 6 snooker, 6 American, 8 English pools. So that's what, 24, and 2 table tennises, 26 tables in Woolwich. Same, Friday, Saturdays are busy. Other days, half tables are full.
And we don't allow more than 6 people on each table.
Yeah, we don't let more than 6 people on one table.
That's okay. And do you consider 9 people the proper amount of people to control 400 people at any one time?
Usually, our customers are always regular customers. I always tell my staff, if a customer causes a problem, kick them out, don't let them in. We don't need problem-causing customers. Don't let them inside. So that's why the customers that we have in Haringey and Woolwich are our regulars. They know us and we know them. And they know our rules that we don't let problems happen in our sites. If they do one mistake, they're banned. They don't come back in there.
Okay, and just one other question. So of the 9 staff in one premise, and I think I've counted 8 or 9 in the other, How many of those are experienced door people?
All of them are trained. They know what they're doing in there. Sorry? You mean bar staff?
Doorman.
Doorman, we don't have any doorman, no. No, we don't have any, because we don't have any problems in our sites. I mean, once in a while we get like a fight happen, we call the police and those people get banned. I mean, we never needed security, but I'm saying if we do have problem in Huntington, we're not afraid to hire a doorman.
Okay, thank you. No. Okay, do any of the officers present have any questions? Legal licensing? No. Does the applicant have any questions? No. Okay. The responsible authorities, do you have any questions? Yep.
I just wondered whether or not who the DPS is going to be. Is it going to be yourself? Oh,
Yeah, it's gonna be me.
ping pong at the moment. Do you live locally?
I live in Cheshunt, about 50 minutes away from here.
Okay, do any of the other, have you got another one? Yeah.
Apologies, yeah. I was just wondering what time are your premises open till in London?
Both sites are usually same hours. We open at 11, but the first staff comes at 10, you know, if there's any cleaning needs to be done. But the doors open at 11 to customers, and weekdays, except for Friday and Saturday, we close at 2 a.m. Friday, Saturdays till 3. We stop sales of alcohols, we close our shutters, we let the customers leave slowly and quietly.
Any further questions? Yep.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to ask, at your other clubs, do you sell food and drink? And is that something that you're going to plan to do if you are working at the Huntington branch?
We currently they're selling toasties, burgers and chips, hot drinks, cold drinks and alcohol. Woolwich is similar, we're just doing burgers and chips in Woolwich. That's it, nothing else.
Thank you. And just to understand, are you training your staff? Do you understand what we would expect from visits to make sure that you have documented food systems in place and training?
Like I mentioned before, in Woolwich, they had problem before with the council. They've done like many inspections. Everything was totally fine.
Thank you. I just wanted to be aware of what to expect. Thank you.
Does the interested party have any questions? No, thank you. I would now like to move to the written representations from those who have indicated they're unable to attend today. These are set out in your agenda pack. Does anyone have any comments on the written representations received? Members of the committee? No. Officers? No. Applicant? Premises license holder? No. And then responsible authorities? And the interested party? Yeah, brilliant. Have we all noted the written representations? Yeah. Okay. If you'd like to, the applicant would like to sum up at all.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, there's nothing further to add to what I've already said and what's been discussed in the hearing today. Thank you, Chair.
And any responsible authorities want to? No. Okay. Yourselves?
Former premises license holder.
Yep.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm really grateful to yourself and Mr. Elford for helping me sort of maintain a proper separation between the former premises license holder and the new premises license holder. As I said, you've got the full sanctions you've effectively wanted against the former premises license holder. You have a fresh applicant and you have a license that will operate. So in answer to the councillor's questions about SIA, there is an SIA provision, so they will have to have SIA at this premises. And I have actually seen the drafts of all of their operating procedures in terms of dispersal, operation, and so on. That it was felt premature to bring these today. Firstly, because the police might make objections. Secondly, in order to effect the introduction today. And thirdly, depending on your decision, what happens and how it's going to be redesigned will mean that there'll be further bespoke work done on those. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you'd like to turn your mic. Oh, thank you. Would you like to say anything further or? No. Okay. Before we move to item 6, exclusion of the press and public, the said committee will now retire to deliberate. The council's legal advisor will provide legal advice and to record the subcommittee's decision. We are unclear how long deliberations will take. Our decision will be sent out to you all in writing as soon as possible. If you do want to wait around, you are welcome to do so. The choice is yours. All parties do have a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of decision. Is there anything else you'd like to add? No. That leaves me to thank you all for your attendance today. We will now move on to item 6, exclusion of the press and public. Are members happy to exclude the press and public? Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.